Airlines do it, Uber does it, hotels do it, big events do it, yet most tradie and contracting business owners aren't aware of this powerful pricing strategy that dramatically increases profitability, and they are leaving money on the table. Now tune into this episode where we dig into surge pricing and how you can use this to drive the profitability of your business without having to do more jobs or employ more people. And so this is really all about the law of supply and demand, and you take on emergency jobs or after hours work, you're just working harder for the same pay.
If you're not using surge pricing, you're going to make less money than normal.
When people really need you, your service is actually more valuable to them then.
People will pay more. If the demand is high and the speed is what's going to be valuable and you still want quality, well then it can't be cheap. It's just really that simple.
Alrighty, welcome to the podcast here with your host Tony Fraser-Jones. Phil Smith, how you doing, buddy?
Yeah, good mate, good, always good, ready to roll.
Co-host,
yeah, I'll take that.
Well, mate, that sounds like you're lesser. You're not really.
Yeah, we can be mates too.
I think you do most of the heavy lifting, to be fair.
I'm not sure about that.
What are we talking about?
Well, we're talking about when you got lots of jobs happening at the same time, or, seasonal fluctuations like weather or pre-Christmas. You got unreasonable customers that want you to do stuff now but aren't necessarily valuing your service, or urgent repair jobs that require you to drop everything and run. So basically situations where the value of work is more valuable to the client because speed is critical.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, and there are, there's this thing we call the project management triangle, which people judge the value of work on, and, some people want it done really fast, some people want high quality, and some people want budget. Well, maybe everyone wants all of those things, but as a supplier, you can't do all of them. It's hard to provide the best work at the quickest time for the cheapest price.
Yeah.
And so there's often a trade-off between these things, and when speed's really important to the clients, there is an opportunity to change the budget potentially because it's more valuable. There's more scarcity and stuff as well, and I think there's a huge opportunity as business owners to actually capture some of this value through the pricing that we run. And so what we're going to dig into in this episode is surge pricing, which is changing the price depending on the demand and the supply that's available at the time. And we dig into how it works, why you really should consider it, and the psychology behind it, because that's quite important. I think a lot of people kind of get hung up on the fact that they couldn't do it because there's no way they could charge that much, which is basically in their own head. And also we'll figure out what situations where this might apply in your business. And when you do apply it, it's going to help massively with your profitability. So it's pretty juicy. Always want to talk about making more profit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we are profitable tradie for a reason.
That's
so
right.
I'm sure you got a story to kick us off.
I do. Well, it's not so much of a story. It's just Uber is like an incredible business that started, before Uber, the taxi fares were fixed. Didn't matter the demand. So on Friday night, after a big concert, you'd struggle to find a cab, but the price stayed the same, which is kind of weird when you think about it. Now, Uber changes forever with their pricing system, which is a surge pricing system where fares are automatically increased when demand is high and the drivers are scarce. And, as usual, people complained at the start of this, why is my ride going to cost me twice as much home? But they kind of accepted it pretty quickly because it made sense. At least they could get a cab now because, higher fare, more people will come out and drive then as well. So supply and demand takes care of itself. And really what they were doing for is paying for speed, convenience, and availability, which is what they wanted rather than waiting for hours for the cab that didn't come.
Yeah. Well, we've all stood in the rain outside the concert, haven't we? It's not much fun. It's way better when your Uber actually turns up.
That's right. And so this is really all about the law of supply and demand. And, it's kind of like it applies to everything. If you think about gold, we pay way more for gold than other metals because it's scarcer and there's not as much availability and it's just more valuable.
Yeah, 100%.
And so that kind of philosophy does apply to the pricing, in your tradie and your contracting business as well. And I think there's a lot of opportunity there for us to actually capture some of that value.
Yeah, 100%. And hey, look, if we don't consider, surge pricing and we don't use it in our business, we could have some downsides.
We do. Well, I think the first thing is you end up just working more and earning less. Like you take on emergency jobs or after hours work or high demand, periods of work just at the regular rate. So you're just working harder for the same pay. And that's kind of frustrating. Like you basically just slave yourself, and you're not making any more money. And there's a lot of stress involved as well because you're trying to cram everything in, and it's difficult. Often it actually costs you more money because the pressure from shifting things around, the disorganization from having to change a schedule and let other people down. There's quite considerable downstream consequences of trying to deal with this sort of stuff.
Yeah, 100%.
You get cheap clients, so. If you keep your pricing low, even for urgent work, you really encourage people who don't respect your time, don't respect your expertise, and maybe will shop you around and muck you around. And that is very frustrating because it costs you a lot of wasted time, and also a lot of frustration as well. So that's definitely something to think about. And I think you lose control of your workload. If without adjusting your price to suit the demand, often you're overloaded in those peak periods, and sometimes you're really dead quiet at other times as well. And instead of actually maximising the profit when the demand's high, you're just stuck doing too much work for too little money. So it's a lost opportunity as well. And I think you do tend to devalue your own time. Like, you don't realise that when people really need you, your service is actually more valuable to them then, but you're just charging the same amount. And so you don't actually understand the value that you're delivering to people. And I mean, it's easy to make this mistake when you're doing work and pricing it out of your own wallet, which is, you think, well, I'm just repairing a leaky pipe or toilet cistern or whatever it is. I'm just getting the power back on for these people. But, if it's the middle of the night or it's a factory where the work is shut down because they can't work, that's actually way more valuable than at another time where there's not so much pressure. And so people are actually prepared to pay more for that. But you're not understanding that value, which I think is a miss for your business as well. And I think finally, there'll be other competitors who actually get this. And there are people out there. Not everyone is doing this, probably not most people, but a few are. And they're really going to take the cake away from you because they'll get that money. You'll leave it on the table, and the competitors are actually doing well, and you're missing out, which is it's not what we want.
It's not where you want to be. Definitely don't want to have that opportunity cost of what you could have made and what someone would have paid. So I think on the other hand, if we do use surge pricing, we do consider putting this in our business, pretty big upsides.
Yeah. Well, simply you can end up working less and earning more because or working the same and earning more. You probably do the same amount of work, but you'll just charge more for it. And obviously, if you charge more, you make more profit. Simple, because increase in prices and increase in profits. It's happy days. The one thing that people probably don't realise is that the frustrating clients, the annoying ones, the bottom feeders, they tend to want the bargain basement prices. And so if you do price things a little bit more aggressively to capture the value, they're not going to use you. Those people will go somewhere else, which is cool. And you'll get the clients who really appreciate your service and the value you provide rather than those bottom feeders. And I think that's really important. And then the price also helps you balance the demand. If you do increase the price, you will potentially lose some jobs, which helps you control the amount of demand. You're not getting slammed with work. And before you freak out, that you have to lose a lot of work before you lose profitability. It's quite amazing how much work you need to lose. So that's important. You can keep control on what's coming in. And it also makes a statement about your time. Once you charge for the value you're delivering at the time, you're like, yeah, I know we're worth it. I know the service we do is important, and we're worth getting paid what we deserve to be paid. And I think that's a really important mindset. And it's a challenge that a lot of business owners have. I mean, we see it all the time. We just don't value the service we do highly enough. We're like, we're just some blue-collar tradesperson doing this work. We shouldn't be paid. We don't deserve to be paid well like a doctor or a lawyer, an accountant, but what we do is just as important.
If not more important often.
Yeah, I mean, you try and run a house without plumbing or electrical. It's not.
Try to be anywhere without plumbing and electrical. I mean, they always say plumbing is the difference between third world countries and not third world countries.
That's exactly right. So I think that's massive. And at the end of the day, if we get savvy about this and really smart, we're gonna take a bunch of profit and revenue away from our competitors who aren't onto it. So I think there's plenty of stuff here that's really helpful for us to get onto, and it'll make a big difference in our business if we get this surge pricing right.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, maybe to begin with, let's dig into what is surge pricing.
Yeah, surge pricing. Well, it's kind of is what it sounds like. It's basically just you increase the prices when demand is high. And if you look at the world that we live in, it happens a lot. So we have airlines do it. So in peak seasons or holiday seasons, you'll notice the airfares are considerably higher than they are at off-peak. And that's a supply and demand issue. Yeah,
you want to go anywhere during school holidays.
Yeah, like they
flights to double the price.
That's right. It's crazy. We maybe get frustrated, but it's a supply and demand issue. I mean, it's difficult for the airlines sometimes actually put on that many more flights, and so it's just supply and demand. Hotels are another one. Again, holiday seasons, weekends. Friday, Saturday nights are more expensive than Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday nights.
Yep.
Uber, we talked about that, so it's more expensive at peak times. Even you think about events, whilst this may not be a time thing, but they will charge much more for seats that are near the front.
Yeah.
It's the same concept. It's a supply and demand issue.
Or even look at other types of things with events. You got a big concert on in town, all the hotels will put their prices up, all the taxis are more expensive, all of the bars have a surcharge. Like it all
Yep.
goes up. It's like, so there's going to be people here. They need to use these things. There's going to be more people than we can deal with, so it's more expensive. It's just
That's
simple,
right. So it's a supply and demand issue. You even think about medical treatment. Now, if you need medical care on the weekend or after hours, does it cost more?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's surge pricing.
Yeah, try not to break your arm in the middle of the night. Do it in the daytime. It's cheaper.
Right. That's right. So really, it's about increasing our prices when the demand is high, or similar thing is, if our supply is really low, maybe it's weekends or holidays when you don't have quite so much availability, and other people don't have as much availability either. It's that supply demand equation where that's in favour of the demand. And you think about our businesses. There are lots of times where this could apply. You have peak demand. It might be over before holiday seasons. It might be in the weekends. It might be holidays, after hours. There's lots of times where this could apply.
Yeah, seasonality.
Everyone wants their aircon serviced in the middle of summer because it's hot. They want all their gas heating done in the winter when it's cold. So there's opportunities here. And really what it's based on is the concept of speed and availability. That's what it is. And as we talked about, for us providing services, we can provide quick service, we can provide high quality service, and we can do it at a cheap price. Those are the three parts of the triangle. And so it's really when we focus on that speed element, then, it gives us the opportunity to actually play with the price element.
Yeah, well, when they talk about that iron triangle, it's like you can't have all three, but you can usually get 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
And so in this case, people are not usually willing to sacrifice quality. So that's a no-brainer. Like that has to stay. And hopefully you're not the type of person that's, sacrificing quality. I'm sure everyone listening to this is a type of person that does great work. So quality is staying, which means you can either have really, really quick or really, really cheap. So if you want speed, you want it to be quick and you want quality, well, that's not cheap. On the other hand, if you want quality and you want cheap, well, it's not fast. So that's where that demand comes in. If the demand is high and the speed is what's going to be valuable and you still want quality, well, then it can't be cheap. It's just really that simple.
Yeah. So surge pricing is higher prices when demand is high and or supply is low. And it's based on the fact that people value that scarcity and urgency. And there is value in that. And we want to capture that value. So that's the key to surge pricing.
Yeah, and if we look at this, like this definitely boosts your profit, right?
Yep.
Like basically you're going to get paid more for work you were already going to do. So, if you were going to go out to that call out after hours, so if you were going to do that anyway, you could either charge your normal price or you could charge, a different rate for the fact that it's after hours. That still has a lot of value, but you're now going to be paid more for the same work, which means your costs are the same, but the price is higher and the profit is therefore higher. So most often the cost of production is going to be the same. You'll use the same materials, same amount of hours. But, it is important to also note that sometimes the cost of production might actually be a little bit more in demand or high peak times, because if you think about it, if it's after hours, you may have to pay overtime. So actually the labor might be more expensive than normal, or you might need a really quick response from your merchant. You need gear quickly. And so you might have to pay a premium for that. And as a result, your cost of production actually can go up too. So if you're not using surge pricing, if you do use it, firstly, you could be paid more for the time that you spend anyway. But if you don't use it, there's actually a possibility that you're going to make less money than normal when you're doing, off-peak times because of things like overtime or quick response from your suppliers. So it really actually becomes quite important you're pricing carefully in these situations, or otherwise not only do you miss out on the opportunity cost of what you could have earned extra and what people would have paid, but also you could end up getting stung too. So you need to make sure that you're pretty careful with this and make sure that it translates to your profit. It's important.
Yeah, and we'll talk about some situations where you can use this. It's not just for emergency maintenance work. It may be if you're doing projects, maybe you're a landscape or a bathroom renovation place, and you may have an option that if people want the job done within 6 weeks, then they get charged a premium.
Well, this is classic, right? Landscaping, easy example. Like I remember, obviously Christmas time, and we got a lot of our landscaping clients, and they're just getting absolutely slammed with people that want all their landscaping work done before Christmas because the family's coming over and we're going to be entertaining them outside and it needs to be really, really nice, and I want that new deck or that new patio, or I want, the garden to look nicer, and all of these types of things. They're really, really, they want it now. And because everyone wants it now, it's like that project is now in higher demand, and people will pay a higher premium to have it done by Christmas when the family's going to get there. So this is, pretty standard thing to happen. So yeah, you did right. It's not just for emergency maintenance and call-outs and things. It's really for projects, for everything. It's just finding like what is your window of high demand, and every business has one.
They do, and this is really applicable in today's economy. If we think about where we have landed today, it's a very instant economy. People communicate instantly. Everyone wants clicks and likes and shares on the socials, and so people want speed. Like speed is, people just expect speed. They don't expect to wait anymore. And Uber and the hotels, they've all taught us and taught our clients how this actually works. So this is, people have been educated on this for us. It's really just up for us to actually take advantage of it. So that we can get some of that value from surge pricing, because everything is very instant these days.
Yeah, absolutely. And if we look at the psychology behind surge pricing, there's quite a lot to this. Like, people will pay more in the right times. Basically, like, people value things based on urgency and scarcity, like you're talking about. And when something's in high demand or limited supply, we instinctively perceive it as more valuable. So that's why we pay more for those last minute flights or those event tickets or express delivery. I mean, if you look at it Amazon's changed the game with this, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can get things so fast these days, and people will, buy that Amazon membership because that's how you're going to get stuff quicker. I mean, people want it. And in trades, it's the same principle. It applies across the board. So when someone's heating breaks in winter, they're not looking for the cheapest option. They want the fastest fix, or otherwise they're going to freeze, If if you have a major electrical fault before a big event at your home, you're going to pay a premium to avoid this being an absolute disaster when everyone comes over and you've got no power. And basically, your job is just to position your service as a premium solution to urgent problems. It's really that simple. And the customer isn't just paying for your time; they're paying for peace of mind, convenience, rapid response. And when you frame it that way, they won't even question a higher rate. They'll be happy to pay it because they're getting the result they want in the time frame they need it. And basically solving a big problem. And every single person listening to this, if you're a trades business owner, you solve big problems for people. And so if they need that in an expedient way, they will pay a premium to get it done. It's really that simple. There's the psychology is pretty clear.
It is. Well, the right people will pay the premium, which is the thing, because the wrong people won't, and they'll go away, which is fantastic.
Well, the type of person that's willing to freeze for a few days in winter, please don't work for them.
They don't have no money
they're
anyway.
not going to pay your bill anyway.
That's exactly right. And so I think we've touched on some of the areas where this might apply, but I think it's good to blast through them, because this might help, if you're listening, think about, well, where could I actually use this in our business right now to actually capture some more of the value that we're generating for our clients, and then put that in our bank account, rather than just leaving all the value with the client. And so obviously we've talked about emergency call-outs, which is after hours work, weekend work, holiday work. That's probably the most common and easily accepted form of surge pricing. So if they call outside business hours, they should pay a premium for that urgent service. That's the burst pipe at 10 o'clock at night. That's the no power at home on a Sunday. That's the blocked drains on a Christmas morning. That's the factory that's shut down at 10:30 in the morning that can't process anything. It's all that sort of stuff. And it's just about telling people that this is our emergency fee and this is our standard fee, giving them the option, and they're going to take the emergency fee. It's really simple. I think peak demand periods are another one as well. So seasonal pricing. So high demand seasons. So maybe that's obviously air conditioning in the summer. It's heating in the winter. Like for landscaping, the autumn is a good time, because that's when you plant, so that plants can establish themselves, or getting stuff done before Christmas as well. All that sort of stuff. So you can actually vary the pricing, and you could again give your clients some options. If we get this done in 2 months, this is what it'll cost. If you can wait for 6 months, this is what it'll be, or 4 months. So there's some options there. Obviously, the same day jobs, last minute jobs. If people just want, it's not necessarily an emergency job, but they want the job done today for whatever reason, well, there could be a priority service on that.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Maybe this customer, they don't have a breakdown as such, but they're leaving town for a couple of weeks. They want it done, or whatever it is. It could be anything, but some people will pay for that. And I'm kind of like that. I'd love, if I want something done, I want it done now, and I'm quite happy to pay a little bit more just to get it out of my head. There's definitely people around like that, so that's definitely
you got two
something.
of them sitting right here. So
That's right. Yeah, super impatient people.
Yeah.
Again, it might be if it's remote access or difficult to access locations, or there's some safety issues or whatever. Again, there can be some surge pricing there to take account of the fact that this is difficult for you, and therefore it's going to be difficult for the client because they have to get a service provider. So that's another option. Maybe special events, pre-Christmas, pre-holiday rushes. We sort of talked about that a bit as well. Could be something else. Maybe just VIP or priority customer service. This is a big one. There are people out there who just want VIP service. And as I said, that might be, you just get your project done sooner for a higher fee. Yeah. Bathrooms or landscaping would be an example there. So those are some examples where you could definitely put this into play and position it with the client and capture some of that value.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the next thing is obviously how do you implement that without a backlash? Because
that's what everyone's thinking, right?
Yeah, because obviously I'm sure if you're listening, you're thinking this all sounds great, but what about if my clients spit the dummy when I bring this up? So basically, introducing surge pricing, it doesn't mean you suddenly just double your rates without warning, all right? There is a smart way to do it and a way to think about this. So first one's just be really upfront about it. Like, transparency is key. Let customers know that after hours or weekends or emergency jobs come with higher pricing. Now, no one's going to actually freak out about that. This is very normal. It happens everywhere in their life. So when you say it as well, you're not like the only person in town and they've never heard it before and they're going to freak out. They'll be like, yeah, that sounds reasonable. So just be upfront, I think, is really important. Next one is frame it as a priority service. So instead of saying we charge extra, say we offer priority service for urgent jobs. People are going to pay extra for first class seats or express shipping. It's the same concept. So if you frame it as priority service, people are going to be really happy. I mean, I know, for me and you, obviously we travel a fair bit together, and so I've seen you in the airport, and I reckon you would pay whatever it took to get onto that plane first. Like, you hate waiting in lines, and I think that's fine. That's absolutely cool. But there's so many people like that, and I think in this case, if you frame it as a priority service, people will pay that premium to get the priority, especially if they need it to be a priority.
That's true. You make it sound as though I'm unreasonable.
Well, you got big long legs, man. You got to get in, stretch out. Like
I am unreasonable. It's a fair comment.
Yeah. Next one is offer alternatives. So give customers the choice. It's not this or nothing. It's hey, we can get to you right now for X dollars, or we can schedule it at our standard rate next week. So most urgent customers are going to take the premium option, and they'll be fine with paying more. But if they're not fine with paying more, it's not like they're out in the cold and they've got no choice and now they can't choose you. They can still choose you. They just don't get it in the same priority as other people. And then last one is use it strategically. So don't just apply surge pricing randomly. It's track your busiest times. When are those peak demand times for you? And apply it in those times, and don't do it in other times. So when you do it right, surge pricing is going to feel like a premium service rather than some kind of sneaky price hike. And I think the big thing with this is just making sure that you make it known. So people are going to freak out if it was an unknown thing, if you just sprung it on them. But if they know up front and it's positioned right and there are alternatives that are offered and you're using it at a time that makes sense, people are not going to freak out. And you're making it known, they're going to totally understand. I mean, again, Uber, hotels, flights, everything, they do this, they make it known, and you know why it's happening, and you have options. And so as a result, this is not a weird thing, and you don't feel any kind of way about it. Yeah, you have the choice.
I think that's really important. If someone does have a question about it, it's just helping them link the unknown with the known. And so if they do have a question, you can say, oh, look, understand. Look, when you use an Uber, how it costs more on Friday night? But, well, it's kind of the same because it just, we have to be able to provide the service. We've got to make sure we can do it. So it just needs to cost a little bit more so we can provide you the good service, quickly. Yeah. Or with hotels or airlines, there's just more demand at that time. So that's why the price is higher.
And you can put in the actual details of why your demand is higher at that time. I mean, you're not lying. Like, if you're that landscaper getting the project done before Christmas, it's like, yeah, cool. Like, hey, we have so many people that want to get projects done on exactly that same time frame for exactly the same reason, as they want stuff done before Christmas. And so honestly, we only have so many guys, and so if you want it done before Christmas, we have to prioritize you over other people, and so that's why this applies. Again, emergency call out, it's like, hey, it's the middle of the night. Like, yeah, the reason it costs a little bit more is, it's just like anything. Uber's more expensive on a Friday night, blah, blah, but we're more expensive during the night because I've got to get Tim out of bed to come over to your house and fix this issue. So, they'll completely understand this. And like I joked before about don't break your arm in the middle of the night, but I know people that will pay a premium to get seen, and I know people that would sleep on the broken arm and wait till the morning. And I think, like, look, it's fine either way as long as they have the choice. And if you want something faster, you'll pay more for it now.
And I think that's the key thing. It's about the choice, because the right clients will be really happy to pay.
Yeah.
And actually, to be honest, they'd love to be given the opportunity to take priority service. There's a lot of people who do this. And the thing is, and this is the key thing, we have to stop pricing our work out of our own wallet and out of our own head. Because we may not be the person who's prepared to take, VIP priority treatment, or we may be that person. But if we're not, we cannot understand why other people would do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that doesn't mean they won't. And so pricing work out of our own wallet and our own head often leads us to grossly undervaluing the work that we do, and that's a problem. We just think it's simple because we do it all the time. And we don't see the value to the client. And the value is in the eyes of the customer. This is the key thing. And so their value often is speed. It's not just the job. It's the speed, it's the convenience, it's the availability of getting it done now. And so what we need to do is actually let the market determine the true value of our pricing. We do that by asking and putting it out there, and people say, yes, that's what the market's telling us, and that's fine. That's the value we should be capturing. Nobody will take the job if they don't think it's value.
Yeah,
that's just the way it is. You do deserve to be paid more for providing value that your clients see, despite the fact that the service costs are the same for you. That's irrelevant. The service costs of provision of the service are not relevant to the value. Yeah, that's very important.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we've had some good stuff in here, so shall we land this plane?
Let's land this plane. Lots of other service businesses change their pricing based on supply and demand variations. Now, it's about time traders and contractors did the same to capture the value of the services that they provide. Thanks heaps for listening. We'll catch you all again next time.
See you later.
Congratulations on being part of a select group of savvy business owners who are taking their businesses to the next level. And to help you on your journey, don't forget to check out our show notes for a copy of our free book, The Profitable Tradie, and other valuable resources. Thanks for being a part of this special group, and we'll see you in the next episode of the Profitable Tradie podcast.